Hello everyone, good morning, good evening. Welcome to another PMP Q&A session. Today we will be discussing 10 more exam-like tough questions. So these questions are from the entire exam content outline. So let's start question number 1. All right. Robin, you have chosen option A.
Yes, as far as I can remember, option A is clearly the purpose of A/B testing. B is completely out of it. And maybe C and D were a bit closer, but I felt that A was the closest.
All right. Thank you. Carlos, you have chosen option C.
Yeah, I haven't seen this concept before, but I think testing different functionality features in different environments makes sense.
All right. Thank you. Manmeet, you have chosen option A.
Um, A and B testing, as far as I read it, it's called maybe split testing something. I won't go with the definitions, but it definitely the two versions of the features to determine which performs better. So that's why I picked option A.
All right. So yes, that is correct. A/B testing is when you have two different versions with different set of features of a product, and you want to test which one fulfills the customer needs and requirements, you go with A/B testing, right? So correct answer is option A. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right, so Has, you have chosen option A.
Sorry, it should be C. Character chart. I typed it wrongly. Character chart helps you to do, it gives you the frequency. It helps me to know which part has what's the impact and go with that, right? I mean, that's what the question is saying, which is having the most important impact. So, where to put the biggest effort. So, it's character chart. Sorry, I typed it wrong.
All right. Could you please explain why not A? What's wrong with option A? So Has, why not?
Sorry, I'm being on mute. Okay. The fishbone analysis will tell you different parts of RCA, right? Like what are the different causes of it, right? And what are the major cause of it, right? But uh, here in the Pareto chart, it tells you what are the frequency and which is the main area we have to focus on, right? Uh, it's in the fishbone, it just gives you the cost, the main cost. But here, Pareto chart will tell you which is the area on which you need to focus on because the frequency is high for that.
All right, thank you for detailed explanation. So yes, correct answer is option C, Pareto chart. Fishbone diagram is used to find root causes. So this is for root cause analysis. So you'll get to know various root causes. So for example, let's suppose there are 5 root causes. So you identify those. 5 why analysis, it's again the root cause analysis technique where you keep on asking why again and again until you find the root cause. Pareto chart, it provides you frequency of defects in an order. So you can see type A defect has the highest frequency, let's suppose 20 out of 100. Type B is 15, type C is 10, type A is, let's suppose, 7. So you can visually see where you should focus. So you should focus your efforts here. If you handle type A defect, most of your problem would be solved. So Pareto chart helps you to determine where you should focus your efforts. So correct answer is option C. Let's read the explanation. And control charts. Control charts are to see if your process is within the limit or outside of the limit. So just to help you understand what is Pareto chart, we have already discussed that. So it has upper control limit and it has lower control limit, right? You can call it tolerance, right? And then you plot different samples. So let's suppose one sample is here, another sample is here, something is here, right? So, and then you see if there is any sample that is outside of the limit. So for example, say this, if there is a point or a product that is outside of the limit, we call it out of control process, right? So this is what we study in control chart. Okay, so correct answer is option C. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right, Carlos, you have chosen option B.
Yeah, maybe it's not the right answer, but the lessons learned will give you a little bit of feedback on the issues and what's going on, and you might be able to correct.
All right, thank you. Manmeet, you have chosen option C.
I think it's all improvement because it's have everything bad. No deadlines are getting like no deadlines are meeting, budgets is exceeding, quality standards are not up to meeting with the actual standards. So I think everything is issue here. So when it comes to such situation, there's improvement efforts that lacks in the organization. That's why I picked option C.
All right, Manmeet, why not option B?
Lessons learned is a part of where everything is going smooth when you know the actual standards of working in a project, when you're doing everything as best as we can meet the deadline, not going over the budget, and then document everything for the future and for other projects. So it's not only B option, to my understanding. B option is actually the part of these troubles going in the organization. So overall, the cause is asked, like what most likely the cause of reoccurring problems is the improvement efforts. That's lacking.
All right, so you said if everything is going well, then you document lessons learned. This is what you're saying?
Yeah, well, the actual project is this is how it goes, right? We plan and we execute, and then we implement and we test, and then we document everything. And that's how the steps of the project. Here, everything is going bad. So what uh, good it would bring if we only have the lessons learned repository? They will still lack the budgets, they still fail to meet the standards. So it's improvement efforts that's required here. That's the main cause.
By the way, true lessons come after failure. When you fail, you learn.
Yes, yeah, risks and issues, everything goes into the lessons learned. But to my understanding, this question's causes lies with the improvement efforts.
All right,
I can be wrong. Yeah.
thank you for detailed explanation. So let's read the question. It says you're managing a project in an organization where projects frequently miss deadlines, exceed budgets, and fail to meet quality standards. So these are some of the issues regarding schedule, budget, and quality. Despite these issues, there is no formal process for reviewing past project performance. Now, if we just read the first line till this, there is no process for reviewing past project performance. It could be either B or it could be C. So for example, if we are not reviewing past performance means we are not documenting lessons learned. You understand? And we don't have any continuous improvement efforts. And next says or introducing changes. Now, what is the most likely cause of these recurring problems? So there could be an instance like we are documenting lessons learned, but there is no formal process for reviewing those lessons learned. And then based on that, introducing change. So correct answer is option C. There is no continuous improvement efforts, right? If there are no continuous improvement efforts, and it is clearly mentioned, there is no formal process for reviewing past project performances or introducing changes. So it is more than just having a lessons learned repository. Lessons learned repository, you're documenting, but you're not doing anything on top of that. Continuous improvement efforts, you are documenting lessons learned, you are learning from the past, and you are introducing improvement efforts. So comprehensive answer is option C. All other options are incorrect. Let's read the explanation. All right, if you have any comment, feel free to share in the chat window, or you can just unmute yourself and explain. All right, next question. I can see most of you are not answering. Please do answer. That's really important for discussion purposes. Okay, so Has, you have chosen option D.
Yeah, the reason I chose option D was integration and the alignment of the project plans. Right? Uh, I believe project managers' major focus is on integration, is the integrator. Uh, so that's where I chose project manager, and then delegate the product planning of the individual. It's going to be the product owner who gonna help. So that's the reason I chose option D.
All right, thank you for detailed explanation. So let's read the question. It says you're leading a hybrid project. So if it is a hybrid project, means it's combination of both waterfall and agile, right? So we will be having roles relevant to waterfall methodology and agile framework. Okay. You oversee the integration and alignment of project plans. So the key word is integration here. Integrating project plan, this is the job of project manager. So integration is done by PM, integration management, right? When all the plans are developed, they are integrated together to have a project management plan, and integratively overall execution of project is done. Next part, it says uh, project plan with the overall strategy and delegated product planning to an individual. Who are you and to whom do you delegate the detailed product planning and delivery respectively? So in a hybrid project, product planning is done by product owner. So your job is uh, coordination, collaboration, alignment, integration, and product owner performs the overall product related things, right? Because they manage the product backlog and requirements and delivery and everything. So correct answer is option D, product manager and product owner respectively. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right, Manmeet, you have chosen option A.
No. I think I picked it wrong. Well, actually, I'm pretty confused with A and C. B and D I eliminated because forcing others I didn't found it right, and strict compliance I don't think so. That's also a good word to put in here because as a team we never force or we never apply strict compliances. I'm just confused between A and C. A says that emphasis on shaping the environment, overcoming opposition. um well, we are as a team, and I don't think so that opposition to accomplish result is a good word. That's why I picked A first and then I went to C straight because C says exercising authority through positional power to get things done. C seems more right to me. Dominance is simply meaning you have a positive attitude and you know how to get things done. positively, being a team member, and you make sure everybody listens and we get the things done. That's how dominance, to my understanding, is. So I'm going with C option.
So you're saying dominance is a positive attitude. This is what you're saying.
Well, it has to be, because if we don't want any like dictatorship in the team, right? We want a person to play as a team, but at the same time, one is leading with a positive attitude, making sure everyone is happy with his direction, the way he wants to get things done. And the project is high stake here. It's tight deadline. Being dominant means he is giving the instructions, but at the same time, he is ensuring that everyone is taking the lead, like following the directions, and do not oppose him. So that's why I picked option C. Dominance is not always bad, I believe.
All right. So dominance is not dictatorship, right?
Yes, like leading team was always dominant, right? But it depends on the way they take the lead.
All right. Thank you for detailed explanation. So Has, you have chosen option B.
Yeah, I mean, I don't exactly know, I mean, exactly recall taste, but I felt directing and forcing to follow the path to achieve the desired outcome because of the deadline, and that's where he's trying, the personality looks to be a dominant, but I'm not very sure of it. Uh, I just gave it a try.
All right. Thank you for detailed explanation. So I like such kind of questions because they are very simple, straight. Like there's nothing confusing, or it's not a tricky statement. It's a simple statement. Like we are using a disk model. What does D stand for in the disk model, right? It's a very simple question, right? Dominance. So being dominant means having control over the situation, right? So you're dominating means you're controlling things, and dominance is not a bad thing, as Manmeet mentioned. It's a positive attitude, means having things within control and getting things done, right? That's dominance. If we read the option A, emphasis on shaping environment and overcoming opposition to accomplish results. So it tells you some sort of control with positive attitude. Option B, directing and forcing others to follow a path to achieve the desired outcome. No, it's not always like we control things by directing and forcing. We can control things through our natural charisma. We can control things through servant leadership. We can control things through micromanagement, right? So it's not always we need to force others to do something, right? Option C, exercising authority through positional power. What is positional power? So positional power is you're using your position. So for example, I'm project manager. So I'm instructing people or ordering people to do something just because I'm project manager. That is called I'm using my positional power. So it's not always that you control things with your positional power. As I mentioned, you can control things through various other forms as well, or different form of behaviors. So C can't be the right answer. Option D, ensuring strict compliance to rules and orders for smooth delivery. Again, this is not the only way. So the best choice is option A, emphasis on shaping the environment and overcoming opposition to accomplish results. So dominance is used in positive connotation, right? You make sure that things are in your control and desired results are accomplished. At the same time, you are not exhibiting any negative behavior. So correct answer is option A. Manmeet, you want to say something?
Yes. I was the more I read the options and the more I change my answers. I was going A first and then I moved to C. The only reason why I got flipped from the A is the opposition word. Overcoming opposition to accomplish result. I thought that might be wrong. Are we not a team? Are we considering them opposition here?
Yeah, I mean, opposition means challenges. So we're not talking about teams opposition, any sort of challenges. So what you're doing is if you want to do something and there are challenges, so you overcome those challenges. So opposition doesn't mean we're talking about a team member, we are opposing them. And so opposition means any sort of challenges that we have.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so let's read the explanation. All right, so a proactive approach to removing obstacles, right? Okay, next question. All right, you're taking longer than 60 to 70 seconds. I don't see any answer. Maybe you're afraid of answering. No worries. I can read the statement. So it says you have been consistently struggling with your assigned tasks, failing to meet performance targets. This has negatively affected your recent performance appraisal, and your manager has noted these issues during reviews. What should you do? Option A, review your role and responsibility. Option B, seek feedback from the manager about your tasks. Option C, seek help from the peers with similar tasks and similar roles, and consider if your skill set matches the rules and requirements. So we have been discussing one principle again and again, that is face-to-face and direct communication. So if your performance is not up to the mark and it has affected your recent performance appraisal, so the best choice is talk to your manager, right? So correct answer is seek feedback from the manager about your tasks, because they would be in the right position to tell you what's wrong with you and where you should focus on, what you can improve on, right? So review your role and responsibility. Again, it's a unilateral effort. You're already aware of your role and responsibility. So going back and reviewing it again would not help when you have someone to tell you what's going on, what's wrong with the situation, because performance appraisal has been done and your manager has noted down some of the issues. So the best choice is you need to talk to your manager, have a direct communication with your manager, and understand what's wrong with me or where I should focus on, what are the skills where I can improve on. Seek help from peers with similar tasks in similar roles could be helpful, but not that much helpful if you talk to your manager, because they are fully involved in your day-to-day work. So they are better positioned to give you right feedback rather than a peer who's not aware what exactly you are doing or what are the problems, specific problem you're facing. So B is better than C. Option D, consider if your skill set matches the rules requirements. So this could be one of the problems. This could be one of the problems. So if that is the problem, if you talk to your manager, they would definitely highlight it if this is the issue or this is one of the issues. So correct answer is option B. All other options are incorrect. Kokila, you want to say something?
Yeah, but I felt the option D is better because it's clearly saying that you have a recent performance appraisal. If it's in performance appraisal, you would have definitely had a conversation with the manager, and the manager would have given all the points, and they would have had a conversation on regarding whatever is performance and everything. So that's why I didn't pick option B, because it clearly says that they had a performance appraisal. Without communicating, there's no performance appraisal, right? The manager has to tell him this is the problem area, this is how you have to do all that. And that's why he's
All right, that's a good point, and I take it because in different organizations, performance appraisals are done differently. In some organizations, appraisals are discussed with the employees. In some organizations, appraisals are done and then feedback is provided to employees. So different organizations have different SOPs for that. So you're absolutely right. Normally, when performance appraisals are done, they're done in collaboration with the employee. So things are discussed. But in this statement, there is no such thing which is mentioned. So only we can see the manager has noted these issues during reviews. So if they have noted some issues, you need to talk to them to understand those issues. Since there is no specific information that says that you already had that conversation or you have discussed these things, that's why we cannot assume that. But yes, based on how some organizations do these appraisals, you're absolutely right. Conversation is part of the process. But since in this situation, there is no such thing which is mentioned, so we cannot assume that. Does it make sense, Kokila?
yeah. Thank you.
All right. So Has, you want to say something?
Yeah. Amma, here the feedback is already, he's discussing with the manager. So he's looking and the feedback is given to him. So I felt seeking help from the peers may be helpful, right? I mean, here the discussion has already been happening and he's been the performance review is given, he's been discussing this. So I felt what should you do next is maybe seek from the peers some similar tasks, find out how it can be done. It's again between something collaborative, right? So that's the reason I chose option C.
I got your point. You're right. So explanation is similar to what I have explained to Kokila's point. Since nothing is mentioned in the question, like you already had that conversation or feedback has already been given to you, right? So we can't assume that. So C could be helpful, but as I mentioned, the best choice is talk to your own manager because they are better positioned to give you specific feedback. A peer or a colleague who have similar role can give you general feedback, okay, do this, do that, but specific problems, like what exactly you lack, they don't know. So they might not be able to give you specific feedback about your role or about your situation. They can give you a general idea, like this is the role and these are some of the good practices that you need to take care. But to get specific feedback, you need to talk to your manager. That's why B is a better choice as compared to C. So Has, makes sense, you understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
let's read the explanation and then we'll move to next question. All right, next question.
Emma, just a quick question about the responses. You mentioned that you weren't getting responses, and then in the last one, that you didn't get responses. I actually responded quite quickly. There may be a problem with the
Yeah, me too.
direct message.
Yes, I don't see any response. Maybe there is a problem with the Zoom.
Yeah, we responded. Me too. I was just wondering
No,
why you're not.
I didn't see any response. Could be a
Okay,
problem.
there could be a problem with the direct message response.
Yes, could be. But thank you for letting me know. I thought you guys got discouraged maybe. So, but I thought it's okay, no problem. I can continue. But yes,
So
most of,
should we put it in everyone? Response in everyone?
yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
All
Mark,
right.
this is Rudy.
Yeah, Rudy, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So because I've been working over 40 years, I've been around the block a few times and I've been in management roles with 60 to over 100 employees. When I would do an annual evaluation or semi-annual evaluation, I didn't have time to specifically go over everything. I would just give a brief like overview, like you're doing this well, but these are things you can improve on. I didn't have time to elaborate because I got 60 plus people that I have to give reviews to. That's why, in my mind, it's better for that employee to reach back to the manager and say, "Hey, I've got a couple of questions. Uh, can I have 10 or 15 minutes of your time later on?" And then that manager can give you his view on things that you can improve on. But that's just my past experience.
Yes, Rudy, thank you for explanation, and that is correct. This is how we do things, and that's why I explained different organizations, they have different structures or different systems. So thank you for valuable contribution. So even the performance appraisal is done and the results are not good. So it's better to talk to your manager and seek specific feedback. Okay, I got the general idea, but please tell me what are the key areas where I can focus on? What are your expectations? So having that face-to-face conversation would give you better idea where you should focus on. Thank you for contributing. All right, next question.
Amar, are you seeing the answers?
Yes, now I can see answers.
Okay.
All right. Carlos, you have chosen option B.
Yeah, it's just creating a systematic reading procedure gets rid of tribal knowledge, which is the tacit knowledge that it's talking about. It's just my take, but I've seen it before.
All right, thank you. Mohan, you have chosen option D.
Yeah, this is I'm still deciding. Obviously, tacit knowledge is something that you cannot explicitly express like in a notebook. It's like in years of experience, etc. So I mean, at first I thought organize regular formal training sessions to transfer team knowledge might be good. Yeah, so I'm between A and D, regular team meetings to encourage knowledge sharing. But I think I'm gonna go with D because it seems more like a direct approach where you're actually transferring this knowledge, um, via formal training sessions.
All right, thank you for detailed explanation. Robin, you have chosen option C.
Yes, with difficulty, but I thought that as it's tacit knowledge, which is not easy to communicate or to put across, that maybe less input into the lessons learned register would be a way of developing what needs to be done there. So that's why I went for option C.
All right. Thank you. Manmeet, you have chosen option C.
Yes, I believe lesson learned register is something where we input our hurdles or struggles that we had within the project. I know this is a static experience, which sorry, problems that we faced, which is very unlikely to be spoken or shared, but maybe in a some way we can write it down or document it so that everyone can know what happened and learn from it. So thinking of that criteria, I picked C.
All right. Thank you for detailed explanation. So tacit means unspoken. Tacit means which cannot be easily codified or written. So something that you cannot write. So for example, if there is a process, so I can write down a process like this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3, this is step 4, right? But there is something that you cannot write that is based on your past experience and your intuition that you decide right there based on the situation. You understand? So something that is based on your intuition. And if somebody asks, why did you do that? You don't have a structured answer like I did the analysis, then based on the analysis, I come up with this option. Then I did cost benefit analysis, and based on that, option A was the best choice. That's why I did it. No, it was just your reaction based on your intuition and past experience. So you cannot document it. If you cannot document it, then all the options in which we have documentations are not helpful here. You understand, everybody? It's tacit knowledge. It's not explicit knowledge. Explicit knowledge is divided in two categories: explicit versus tacit. Explicit is something that you can codify, that you can write. For example, process or any sort of technique or whatever we have been discussing most of the time, that is explicit knowledge. When I say, okay, this is a sprint, this is sprint planning meeting, these are ceremonies, this is backlog, this is retrospective, we can write it down. However, tacit is something that cannot be written, that cannot be codified. It's your personal belief, experience, and intuition that you gather over time. It's not something that you can write, and if people follow that, they would get a similar result. Okay. So option B creates systematic written procedures. Written procedures would not help because it is tacit knowledge. Ensure lessons learned registers are developed. Again, it is written. Now we have two options: organize regular formal training sessions to transfer team knowledge, and option A, conduct regular team meetings to encourage sharing knowledge. So it's your personal intuition, it's your personal experience that should be shared with others in informal settings rather than formal training sessions. So formal training sessions are, again, you cannot tell your or explain your entire experience, or you can tell, okay, I have gathered this experience and that was the situation where I did that, right? So the best choice: have informal team meetings and encourage knowledge sharing where they share their own personal beliefs and their experiences and their intuition. So best choice is option A. All other options are incorrect. So to make sure tacit knowledge is transferred across the team, best choice is have team meetings. Or for explicit, you can have trainings, you can have lessons learned, you can have systematic procedures. So B, C, D, they are for explicit. A is for tacit knowledge, which is unspoken, which are your personal belief. And you feel comfortable in sharing your personal belief and thoughts when you are in an informal setting rather than a formal setting. You avoid that, right? Because these are the things which are personal to you. So that's why you need to have that comfortable environment where people don't feel judged, or there is no pressure, where they can share their personal experiences. The correct answer is option A. Let's read the explanation. So this is personal, this is context specific, right? And you need a more natural and interactive environment where people can share their thoughts and experiences. All right, next question. All right, Mohan, you have chosen option B.
Yeah, I chose option B, definition of done. I mean, it's the internal team that is trying to determine whether the acceptance criteria for the iteration has been met, right? And they have these specific um, acceptance criteria, specific bullet points that they have to make sure to check against to ensure that the acceptance criteria has been met. And basically those list of things is basically a definition of done. That's what it would be.
All right. So Has, you have chosen option C.
Just to ensure that the theme story has been met. Just
You're on mute, Sohas. You can type in the
yeah.
chat.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So what I was trying to say is that the story, if it needs to be meet the acceptance criteria, someone has to validate those acceptance criteria. So I felt story validation is more of valid. Iteration review is something we do it with the customers, which happens after we say that sprint is done. Definition of done is a list of checklist, which is we say that whether we have done unit testing, we have done the code review, and also the things. Definition of ready is during the sprint start. So I thought story validation makes sense here.
All right, thank you for detailed explanation. Manmeet, you have chosen option C.
With a very similar explanation, definition of done, I don't believe is that, because you have mentioned multiple times in the QA sessions that definition of done is just a checklist which have things that the team has done. So that's why it's DoD. Iteration review. No, we're talking about user story in an iteration. So we need to have story validation that checks that it is going clear, concise, consistent, and it's matching with the goal. That's why I picked option C.
All right, Manmeet, what's wrong with option A, iteration review? How C is different from A?
Iteration view is, I think it is actually the whole to test the whole iteration here. We are focusing on one user story here because that's what it's asked. User story is a part of iteration here. So maybe iteration review can be done at the end of each iteration, but here having the user story meet the required standards, that's what story validation do, not the iteration review.
All right, thank you for detailed explanation. So Has, you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, the question says what should team use to determine, right? So iteration review is something which gets validated with the customer. The customer may or a product owner will look into the acceptance criteria or something, but if team has to validate it, that's the reason I felt this story validation makes sense.
All right, so Suhas, thank you. You have picked the right keyword. So if we read the question, it says, to ensure that each user story meets the required standards, before it is considered complete. What should the team use to determine that the acceptance criteria have been met? Now, there are two things for you to understand. One is definition of ready, DOR. So what is DOR? DOR is a set of conditions which should be met before you kickstart executing or developing a user story. You understand, everybody? So in iteration planning meeting, you make sure that each user story or each sprint fulfills the requirement of definition of ready. Means you are ready to start your work. But here we are not talking about ready to start your work. We're talking about ready to deliver your work. We're talking about conditions which should be fulfilled to consider a product complete in all aspects. So DOR is for the starting point, right? And DOD is for the ending point, right? So for team, if we have developed something, what is the best way for us to determine like we have done whatever we should have done? That is definition of done, DOD, which is set of actions which should be taken before you send the product for the customer review, right? So correct answer is option B, definition of done. So as a team, how I would see I have done whatever I should have done, it is definition of done. So because DOD is a checklist of actions which should be done before you transition the product to the customer. Story validation is, first, it's not a term. It's a made up term, number one. And number two, let's suppose if it is not a made up term, what do we mean by story validation? Story validation means if I use the similar concept or if I borrow the concept from predictive environment. In predictive, we use scope validation, if you recall. Now, what is scope validation? Scope validation is a concept in which you complete your work and you demonstrate that functionality to customer and seek formal acceptance from the customer. That is called scope validation. So if we use the same concept here, again, as Suhas mentioned, it requires involvement of the customer. You understand, everybody? So scope
Amma, I have a question.
I'll come to that.
Okay.
Scope validation happens after you develop your product and you involve customer. But here we're not talking about that. We're discussing to ensure that each user story meets the required standard before it is considered complete. So what are those required standards? That is definition of done. List of all the actions which you should complete before you present the product to the customer for demonstration. So correct answer is option B. And iteration review, what is iteration review? Iteration review, it's a meeting where you present your work to the customer. Again, it requires customer, right? This is also you need customer requirement. We're talking about what team needs to determine to make sure that they have done whatever they should have done. So correct answer is option B. All other options are incorrect. Francis, go ahead.
My question is, we are talking about adaptive development approach. Don't we do go in stages rather than iterations? I think
Yeah, adaptive is iteration. So adaptive is agile. So another name for adaptive, agile is adaptive. So one is predictive, right? So predictive is waterfall and adaptive is agile. Okay.
okay.
In adaptive, you use iterations and sprints. Make sense, Francis? All right. So correct answer is option B. Let's read the explanation. Now, this is a tricky question. Why a tricky question? First, you need to have basic knowledge, like you need to have what is DOR and DOD. And if you're not sure what is DOR and what is DOD, you need to go back and review the content. Without understanding this basic difference, you won't be able to answer such questions. But good thing is that not all the questions would be like this. As I have been mentioning again and again, exam would be combination of different levels of difficulty level questions. Some would be very hard, even maybe I can't answer. I will be struggling. Some would be of medium level difficulty level, which we are having here. And some are super easy and straight, right? And you would be thinking like, am I picking the right answer? Because this is so simple and straight, right? Okay, but for this, you need to have some basic knowledge and then you need to interpret that. Basma, you have a question?
Yes, I thought that done means the project is over.
Okay, so in Agile, definition of done means, so let me explain it. Okay, let me explain it here. So what we do is, we start our iteration here and we conduct iteration planning meeting, right? Iteration planning meeting. So this is, let's suppose, your iteration planning meeting. So during iteration planning meeting, you define what is your definition of done? What is DOD? So from team perspective, what are the actions that we should take to consider that we have completed our, so they write, okay, we have done prioritization. We have done, let's suppose, estimation. We have done development. Testing is done. Review is done, right? User testing is done, or whatever you say, right? And then, for example, audit is done or whatever, or integration is done. Now, as a team, we have listed down these 8 actions to consider our work complete in all aspects. So we define it during iteration planning meeting. And then we conduct daily stand-ups, right? So we have daily stand-ups. We do the work and we review on daily basis. And then we have iteration review meeting. So before you present your work to customer, so here you present your work to customer. So before you present your work to customer in iteration review, you make sure that you have met definition of done. Means internally you make sure that you have completed all the work from all aspects. So this is called you have met DOD from team's perspective. And when you present it to customer compares actual work with the acceptance criteria. So in acceptance criteria, you involve customer, but from team's point of view, you make sure that you have completed whatever is mentioned in DOD. So DOD is from team perspective, whatever you are mentioning, like completion from all aspects, that is done after work is accepted by the customer. And that is done in iteration review. Once it is done, you hand over the product. So handing and delivering the product to the recipient, only then the work is considered complete in all aspects, okay? So what you are referring is that's done after iteration review. We're talking before from perspective.
Thank
All
you.
right, so next question. All right, Mohan, you have chosen option B.
Right. I mean, as far as I remember, cycle time is basically when the work starts, and it's in those columns where you have initiating work and in process and work done. So that is cycle time, and anything. So If there is response time where they're waiting to be included into the initiating the first column, then that is the total time, and that's called the lead time. So hopefully my explanation makes sense.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Most of you have chosen option B. So, yes, that is the correct answer, option B. Let me just explain it. Cycle time and lead time. So what is cycle time? Cycle time is the time that you spend in the development process, right? So let's suppose development starts here at point, let's suppose B, and it is completed at point C. So this is your cycle time. What is lead time? Lead time is when you place your order. So for example, you place your order a little earlier. So maybe you place your order here, right? And then it is in the queue and development starts here. So this overall time, this is called lead time. So that's why we say we should order long lead items earlier, because we need to consider this as well. So the time that you spend in discussion, in confirmation of the orders or placement of the orders, and order is in the queue and planning for that, and then you have the development. So development is your cycle time, and your overall time is your lead time, right? So if we read it again, question number 9, correct answer is option B. Cycle time measures the time a work item spends in the development process. So that is your cycle time. And lead time measures the total time from when a request is made until it is delivered. So development time is cycle time, and the total time is lead time. So lead time is longer as compared to cycle time. So correct answer is option B. All other options are incorrect. If you read option A, cycle time measures the total time when a request, it is exactly opposite. Option C, cycle time measures the amount of work completed by the, no, it's not the amount of work, it is time, right? So you can simply delete it. Next, cycle time measures the total time from when a request is made until it is delivered. So again, it's lead time, not cycle time. And lead time measures the amount of work. It doesn't measure amount of work. So you can delete this as well. So correct answer is option B. Let's read the explanation. All right, next question. All right, Francis, you have chosen option D.
Oh God, yeah, I don't know. Okay, so I think burn down chart shows like the progress of the iteration or the user stories, and the lower it goes down, it's toward the completion of the project. That's why I chose burn down chart.
All right, thank you. Okay, Kokila, you have chosen option A. You're on mute, Kokila.
Yeah, I just unmuted. So yeah, I chose option A because it is saying, talking about the y-axis, the shows a number of user stories, and the x-axis represent the sprints, and then it is a bar graph. So it's basically the completed work, actual completed work, which is nothing but the velocity.
All right.
Burn down.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, usually burn down chart, burn up chart shows the completed task during the sprint and doesn't take into account all the sprints.
You can make a burn down, burn up for overall work as well. You can do that, right? For multiple sprints as well. So yes, you can do that. But you're right. Most of the time we track
Most of the
progress
time.
of a single sprint. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's go to the explanation. I can see other options as well, but just to save time. It says it's a bar graph, right? It's a bar graph. So there is only one bar graph here. Cumulative flow diagram, it's a line chart. Burn up, it's a line chart. Burn down, it's a line chart. The only graph that is a bar chart is velocity chart, right? But apart from that, what is velocity chart? So I have drawn burn down chart. Burn down tracks remaining work. And what does it say? It says x-axis represents individual sprints and y-axis shows the number of story points or user stories. So this chart is typically that compares a team's projected work during a sprint with the actual completed work. What is this chart called? So this is called velocity chart. So how does it look like? Let's draw it. So it is something like this. So here we have sprint. So sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, sprint 4, sprint 5. And here we have story points. So let's suppose story points are something like that. So we have 100, 200, 150, and 50. So how we develop story points are developed in two ways. Velocity chart is developed in two ways. First is you simply map how much work you have come. So what is velocity? Velocity is how much work you have accomplished in one iteration. So for example, I have completed 150 user story points. So I will be drawing a point here. In the next, I have completed 100. In next, I have completed 200, then 150, then 100. So my velocity chart would be something like this, right? And then I can draw what I planned, okay? So similarly, I can draw for the planned as well. So for example, this was my plan. So this is how I can do the comparison. Another way is in the form of bar graph. So for example, I have planned to complete 150, but in actual, I have completed 200. So in the form of bars, I can compare what is my actual and what is my plan. So this is how story points, velocity chart gives me the idea how much work I have planned and how much work I accomplished, right? Cumulative flow diagram, it tells you the cumulative work that you have done at any point in time, okay? CFT is something else. And along the x-axis, we have overall cumulative work within a sprint, not across sprints. So as Kokila mentioned, burn down, burn up, and CFT, they are used for one iteration or one sprint. Velocity chart is used for multiple sprints. So correct answer is option A. Let's read the explanation. All right, everybody, we're done with today's lesson. I hope you have learned a lot. Just put your score in the chat window. What's your score in today's mock test? %50%, 70%, 60, 60, 50, 70, 30%, 60%, So Robin was really good yesterday. Today, maybe because if I say the level of questions today, we have mixed questions. Some of them were really difficult and some of them were okay. So I was expecting on average 50%, and I think most of you are above 50%, and that's a good result. Okay. So if you have any question, some of you send me your question after the mock test, right? One tip that I can give you, when we go through these questions, what you can do is you can write 10 takeaways. So from each question, write a takeaway. So for example, just write this question number 1, and this is the lesson that you have learned, just in one line. And then question 2, this is what we learned. So this would be really helpful to you in revision or when you go back and you prepare for the exam. So when you go through the 10 questions, at the end of the session, you should have 10 pointers. Like today, I have learned this. So for example, you might not have heard about velocity chart before or term velocity. So just write 4. Velocity is actual completed work in a sprint, and velocity chart compares planned versus completed work across sprints, just like that. Or you can draw a simple graph as well. So if you have 100 or 200 or 300 points, those would be really helpful to you in your exam preparation. So at the end of each session, at least you should have some takeaways with you that you can go back and review. Because reviewing the question and learning from them, that's where actual preparations would happen, right? So please do that. Also, my next course is starting on 27th of July. And I'm also thinking to expand this course to people who have already taken the course, because some of you have contacted me. They said, we want to take the course. If you want to take the course, you can, right? You can contact me. And you can contact on this number and you will receive all the details. Basma, you want to say something?
Yeah, yes, I have a question regarding question number 4. I noticed that the B and D are about the same answer, but it's which one comes first between product owner, product, and the project manager. And you said it's D. Is it because of the question, how it is said, and then you choose the first one, which is the project manager, and then the second one, product owner, or both are correct?
No, so we have two different actions here. One is project integration, right? Project integration of plans. And second is product planning. So integration is done by PM, project manager, and this is done by PO, product owner. Now your question is, we have same thing here and here. Why I have chosen D? Because of word respectively. So in the question, first thing which is mentioned that is relevant to PM. So it says, you oversee the integration. So first is PM. And who are you and whom do you delegate? So second thing is PO. So that's why D is correct and this is not correct. Just because of the sequence, right?
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I'll see you tomorrow with an interesting lesson. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.